You woke up tired again. Just like yesterday. Just like the day before. You tell yourself it is because you work too hard, because life is stressful, because this is just how you are. But the truth is far darker. Your sleep is not just leaving you tired. Your sleep is systematically destroying your ability to focus. Think about yesterday. How many times did you lose concentration? How many times did your phone seem more interesting than the task in front of you? How many times did you start something and fail to finish? You blamed lack of discipline. You blamed low motivation. But the actual truth, the neurobiological truth, is that you never had a chance to focus. Because your brain did not have the neurochemical fuel to do it. Most people misunderstand the relationship between sleep and focus. They think sleep is about rest, about recovering physical energy so you can work hard the next day. But this is a profound misunderstanding. Sleep is not about rest. Sleep is about recalibration. Sleep is when your brain rebuilds the systems that allow you to concentrate, to maintain attention, to resist distraction. Andrew Huberman, a neuroscientist at Stanford University and one of the leading experts in behavioral neurobiology, has spent years researching the relationship between sleep quality and cognitive function. His findings are stark. The quality of your sleep determines, more than almost any other single factor, your capacity to maintain focus and discipline the next day. It is not merely that you feel tired when you sleep poorly. It is that your dopamine system, the exact same system that controls your focus, your motivation, your ability to sustain attention, literally collapses. One night of poor sleep does not just reduce your focus the next day. One night of poor sleep reduces your ability to learn. It reduces your resilience to stress. It reduces your capacity to make good decisions. It reduces your impulse control. It reduces your ability to resist the constant pull of distraction. And most critically, it initiates a vicious cycle in which you sleep worse the following night, which makes everything worse still. This is not theory. This is measured neuroscience. Sleep deprivation of even a few hours produces measurable changes in dopamine availability. One night of poor sleep reduces dopamine levels by up to 30%. 2 nights of poor sleep reduce them by up to 50%. This is not hyperbole. This is what happens inside your brain. And here is the tragedy. When your dopamine is depleted by lack of sleep, your brain does not simply shut down. Your brain enters a state of desperate seeking. It desperately searches for dopamine from external sources. This is why people who sleep poorly find themselves unable to resist their phones, unable to avoid social media, unable to stay away from constant stimulation. It is not weakness. It is neurobiology. Your brain is literally starving for dopamine because your sleep has depleted it. You enter a cycle. Poor night of sleep. Dopamine depleted. Brain desperately seeking external dopamine sources. More caffeine. More phone checking. More stimulation. More blue light late in the evening. Worse sleep the next night. Dopamine even more depleted. Focus even more destroyed. The cycle continues, spiraling downward. This is why so many high-performing people, programmers, writers, entrepreneurs, knowledge workers of all kinds, seem to exist in a constant state of compromised focus. It is not because their work is difficult. It is not because they lack discipline. It is because they sleep poorly, their dopamine is chronically depleted, and their brains are constantly in search mode rather than focus mode. The solution seems simple in theory: sleep better. But in practice, most people have no idea how to actually do this. They know they should sleep more. They know they should get to bed earlier. But they do not understand the actual mechanisms of sleep quality. They do not understand what determines whether you sleep well or poorly. They do not understand the specific protocols that actually work. This is where Huberman's research becomes invaluable. He has identified the specific factors that determine sleep quality. He has identified the specific interventions that improve sleep. And most importantly, he has identified the timeline for recovery. If you implement these interventions consistently, how long does it take before your sleep improves? How long before your dopamine recovers? How long before your focus returns? The answer is surprisingly fast if you do it right. Within 1 week of implementing proper sleep protocols, most people report improved sleep quality. Within 2 to 3 weeks, dopamine begins to recover significantly. Within 4 to 6 weeks of truly good sleep, your focus system recalibrates. Tasks that seemed impossible become manageable. Work that felt impossible becomes engaging. Your capacity for sustained attention returns. But the first step is understanding what actually matters for sleep quality. Most people focus on quantity, 8 hours, 9 hours, whatever the number is. But quantity without quality is almost useless. You can sleep 9 hours and wake up exhausted if that sleep was fragmented, superficial, and did not include the deep sleep stages your brain needs. Sleep has architecture. Sleep has structure. Sleep is not a uniform state. Your brain cycles through different stages of sleep throughout the night. Some stages are for physical recovery. Some stages are for memory consolidation. Some stages are for emotional processing. All of them matter. And if you do not complete full cycles of sleep, if you do not progress through all the stages, your sleep is not actually restorative. Huberman explains that the quality of your sleep depends on several specific factors. Some of them are obvious. Some of them are completely unknown to most people. And when you understand these factors, when you implement the specific protocols based on this understanding, your sleep transforms. Your dopamine recovers. Your focus returns. And your entire relationship with work and attention changes. The question now is, are you willing to understand this? Are you willing to implement the protocols? Are you willing to prioritize sleep not as a luxury but as a foundation for every other aspect of your life? Because that is what the science is telling us. Sleep is not optional. Sleep is foundational. Everything else, your focus, your discipline, your capacity for meaningful work, is built on top of sleep quality. You woke up tired again. Just like yesterday. Just like the day before. You tell yourself it is because you work too hard, because life is stressful, because this is just how you are. But the truth is far darker. Your sleep is not just leaving you tired. Your sleep is systematically destroying your ability to focus. Think about yesterday. How many times did you lose concentration? How many times did your phone seem more interesting than the task in front of you? How many times did you start something and fail to finish? You blamed lack of discipline. You blamed low motivation. But the actual truth, the neurobiological truth, is that you never had a chance to focus. Because your brain did not have the neurochemical fuel to do it. Most people misunderstand the relationship between sleep and focus. They think sleep is about rest, about recovering physical energy so you can work hard the next day. But this is a profound misunderstanding. Sleep is not about rest. Sleep is about recalibration. Sleep is when your brain rebuilds the systems that allow you to concentrate, to maintain attention, to resist distraction. Andrew Huberman, a neuroscientist at Stanford University and one of the leading experts in behavioral neurobiology, has spent years researching the relationship between sleep quality and cognitive function. His findings are stark. The quality of your sleep determines, more than almost any other single factor, your capacity to maintain focus and discipline the next day. It is not merely that you feel tired when you sleep poorly. It is that your dopamine system, the exact same system that controls your focus, your motivation, your ability to sustain attention, literally collapses. One night of poor sleep does not just reduce your focus the next day. One night of poor sleep reduces your ability to learn. It reduces your resilience to stress. It reduces your capacity to make good decisions. It reduces your impulse control. It reduces your ability to resist the constant pull of distraction. And most critically, it initiates a vicious cycle in which you sleep worse the following night, which makes everything worse still. This is not theory. This is measured neuroscience. Sleep deprivation of even a few hours produces measurable changes in dopamine availability. One night of poor sleep reduces dopamine levels by up to 30%. 2 nights of poor sleep reduce them by up to 50%. This is not hyperbole. This is what happens inside your brain. And here is the tragedy. When your dopamine is depleted by lack of sleep, your brain does not simply shut down. Your brain enters a state of desperate seeking. It desperately searches for dopamine from external sources. This is why people who sleep poorly find themselves unable to resist their phones, unable to avoid social media, unable to stay away from constant stimulation. It is not weakness. It is neurobiology. Your brain is literally starving for dopamine because your sleep has depleted it. You enter a cycle. Poor night of sleep. Dopamine depleted. Brain desperately seeking external dopamine sources. More caffeine. More phone checking. More stimulation. More blue light late in the evening. Worse sleep the next night. Dopamine even more depleted. Focus even more destroyed. The cycle continues, spiraling downward. This is why so many high-performing people, programmers, writers, entrepreneurs, knowledge workers of all kinds, seem to exist in a constant state of compromised focus. It is not because their work is difficult. It is not because they lack discipline. It is because they sleep poorly, their dopamine is chronically depleted, and their brains are constantly in search mode rather than focus mode. The solution seems simple in theory: sleep better. But in practice, most people have no idea how to actually do this. They know they should sleep more. They know they should get to bed earlier. But they do not understand the actual mechanisms of sleep quality. They do not understand what determines whether you sleep well or poorly. They do not understand the specific protocols that actually work. This is where Huberman's research becomes invaluable. He has identified the specific factors that determine sleep quality. He has identified the specific interventions that improve sleep. And most importantly, he has identified the timeline for recovery. If you implement these interventions consistently, how long does it take before your sleep improves? How long before your dopamine recovers? How long before your focus returns? The answer is surprisingly fast if you do it right. Within 1 week of implementing proper sleep protocols, most people report improved sleep quality. Within 2 to 3 weeks, dopamine begins to recover significantly. Within 4 to 6 weeks of truly good sleep, your focus system recalibrates. Tasks that seemed impossible become manageable. Work that felt impossible becomes engaging. Your capacity for sustained attention returns. But the first step is understanding what actually matters for sleep quality. Most people focus on quantity, 8 hours, 9 hours, whatever the number is. But quantity without quality is almost useless. You can sleep 9 hours and wake up exhausted if that sleep was fragmented, superficial, and did not include the deep sleep stages your brain needs. Sleep has architecture. Sleep has structure. Sleep is not a uniform state. Your brain cycles through different stages of sleep throughout the night. Some stages are for physical recovery. Some stages are for memory consolidation. Some stages are for emotional processing. All of them matter. And if you do not complete full cycles of sleep, if you do not progress through all the stages, your sleep is not actually restorative. Huberman explains that the quality of your sleep depends on several specific factors. Some of them are obvious. Some of them are completely unknown to most people. And when you understand these factors, when you implement the specific protocols based on this understanding, your sleep transforms. Your dopamine recovers. Your focus returns. And your entire relationship with work and attention changes. The question now is, are you willing to understand this? Are you willing to implement the protocols? Are you willing to prioritize sleep not as a luxury but as a foundation for every other aspect of your life? Because that is what the science is telling us. Sleep is not optional. Sleep is foundational. Everything else, your focus, your discipline, your capacity for meaningful work, is built on top of sleep quality. To understand how sleep destroys your focus, you need to understand what happens to your dopamine system when you do not sleep well. This is where most explanations fail. They talk about being tired. They talk about needing rest. But they miss the actual mechanism. They miss the neurobiology. Your dopamine system is not just about motivation. This is a common misunderstanding. Dopamine is involved in motivation, yes, but it is far more fundamental than that. Dopamine is involved in attention. Dopamine is involved in the ability to sustain focus on a single task. Dopamine is involved in the capacity to resist distraction. Dopamine is the neurotransmitter of directed attention. When your dopamine levels are adequate, your brain can maintain focus. Your attention can stay on a task even when that task is difficult or boring. Your brain can resist the pull of easier, more immediately rewarding stimuli. You can write a report even though your phone is buzzing. You can read a book even though social media is available. You can work on a difficult problem even though distraction is always one click away. But when your dopamine is depleted, as it becomes when you sleep poorly, your brain cannot maintain this directed attention. Your attention becomes fragmented. You can focus for a few minutes, but then your mind wanders. You can work for a few minutes, but then you find yourself reaching for your phone. You can read a few paragraphs, but then you find yourself checking email. Your brain is not choosing distraction. Your brain is desperately seeking dopamine. Here is the critical mechanism. Sleep is when your brain synthesizes dopamine. During sleep, particularly during deep sleep and REM sleep, your brain is not resting in the sense of doing nothing. Your brain is actively working. Your brain is consolidating memories. Your brain is clearing out metabolic waste products that accumulated during the day. Your brain is recalibrating neurotransmitter systems, including the dopamine system. When you sleep well, 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep with complete sleep cycles, your brain completes all of these processes. You wake up with your dopamine at optimal levels. Your attention systems are primed. Your focus capacity is available. You can direct your attention where you choose to direct it. But when you sleep poorly, whether from insufficient quantity, poor quality, fragmented sleep, or inconsistent sleep schedules, your brain does not complete these restorative processes. You wake up in a dopamine deficit. Your brain has not had adequate time to synthesize dopamine. Your dopamine stores are depleted, and your attention systems are broken. The result is that you wake up and your brain is in a state of seeking. Your brain is seeking dopamine, and any stimulus that offers the promise of dopamine becomes irresistible. This is why people who sleep poorly find themselves unable to resist checking their phones first thing in the morning. This is why they cannot avoid social media. This is why they reach for caffeine desperately. Their brains are literally starving for dopamine. Huberman emphasizes that this is not a moral failing. This is not weakness. This is not lack of discipline. This is neurobiology. When your dopamine is depleted, your brain operates differently. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for impulse control, for resisting immediate gratification, for maintaining focus, becomes less effective. You become more impulsive. You make worse decisions. You cannot resist temptation. Now here is where the cycle becomes vicious. Because when you sleep poorly and wake up dopamine depleted, your brain desperately seeks external dopamine. You check your phone. You scroll social media. You consume caffeine. You seek stimulation. And many of these behaviors, particularly the blue light from screens, the caffeine late in the day, the constant stimulation, actually make your sleep worse the following night. You consume caffeine in the morning because you are tired from poor sleep. Caffeine has a half-life of 5 to 6 hours. If you drink coffee at 10 in the morning, 50% of it is still in your system at 3 or 4 in the afternoon. If you drink it even later, it is still in your system when you try to sleep. Caffeine blocks the adenosine receptors that signal sleepiness. You cannot fall asleep easily. You sleep more poorly the next night. Your dopamine becomes even more depleted. The cycle deepens. Or you spend your evening on your phone, looking at bright screens. Blue light suppresses melatonin production. Melatonin is the hormone that signals your body that it is time to sleep. When melatonin production is suppressed, you cannot fall asleep easily. You sleep more poorly. Your dopamine becomes even more depleted the next day. The result is a spiral. Each night of poor sleep leads to more desperate seeking of external dopamine. More desperate seeking leads to behaviors that worsen sleep. Worse sleep leads to more dopamine depletion. And your focus gets worse and worse. Huberman points out that this is why some people seem to be in a constant state of compromised focus. They are not genetically predisposed to poor focus. They are not lacking in discipline. They are trapped in a sleep deprivation cycle that keeps their dopamine chronically depleted. The tragedy is that these people often try to compensate with more stimulation. They try to force focus through more coffee, more energy drinks, more constant input. They try to maintain discipline through more willpower. But all of this makes things worse. More caffeine disrupts sleep further. More stimulation worsens sleep further. their dopamine becomes even more depleted. Their focus becomes even worse. The solution is not more stimulation. The solution is not more willpower. The solution is to break the cycle by sleeping better. When you sleep better, your dopamine recovers. When your dopamine recovers, your focus returns naturally. You do not need to force it. You do not need willpower. Your brain naturally produces the focused attention that you are seeking. But to sleep better, you need to understand what actually determines sleep quality. You need to understand the factors that Huberman has identified through his research. Because sleeping better is not just about going to bed earlier. It is about creating the specific conditions that allow your brain to move through proper sleep cycles and complete the restorative processes that your dopamine system requires. This is where most people fail. They understand that sleep is important. They understand that they should sleep more. But they do not understand the specific mechanisms. They do not understand the specific interventions. They try random things, melatonin supplements, white noise machines, new mattresses, without understanding the actual science of what determines sleep quality. Huberman's research provides the map. It provides the specific factors that matter. It provides the specific interventions that work. And when you understand this map, when you implement these interventions, your sleep transforms. Your dopamine recovers. Your focus returns. And you finally understand why you were struggling all along. It was never about discipline or willpower or character. It was about your dopamine system being starved by poor sleep. Sleep has architecture. This is the fundamental principle that most people do not understand. Sleep is not a uniform state. You do not simply fall asleep and stay in the same state until morning. Your brain cycles through different stages of sleep throughout the night. Each stage serves a different function. And if you do not complete full cycles, if you do not move through all the stages, your sleep is not restorative. There are two main categories of sleep: REM sleep and NREM sleep. REM stands for rapid eye movement. This is when you dream. This is when your brain is highly active, processing emotions, consolidating emotional memories, and working through complex problem-solving. REM sleep is crucial for mental health, for emotional regulation, for the ability to process difficult experiences. NREM sleep has 3 stages, ranging from light to deep. Early NREM stages are when your body begins to relax, when your heart rate and breathing slow, when your body temperature drops. As you progress into deeper NREM stages, your brain waves slow dramatically. This is deep sleep. This is when your body does most of its physical recovery. This is when your immune system strengthens. This is when your brain clears out metabolic waste products. Throughout the night, your brain cycles through these stages. You might spend 15 to 20 minutes in light NREM, then move into deeper NREM stages, then eventually into REM sleep. Then the cycle repeats. A full sleep cycle typically takes about 90 minutes. A healthy night of sleep involves 4 to 6 complete cycles. This is where sleep quality becomes critical. If you sleep for only 5 or 6 hours, you are getting maybe 3 complete cycles. Your brain does not have time to complete all the deep sleep it needs. Your brain does not have time to complete all the REM sleep it needs. You wake up incomplete. Your restorative processes have been cut short. But here is something even more important: the architecture of your sleep matters. Not all sleep cycles are equal. The first cycles of the night tend to be heavier in deep NREM sleep. The later cycles tend to be heavier in REM sleep. If you cut your sleep short, you are not just getting less sleep. You are cutting off the REM sleep that happens in the later cycles. And REM sleep is crucial for dopamine system function. Huberman explains that REM sleep is particularly important for dopamine system recovery and recalibration. During REM sleep, your brain is processing information, consolidating memories, and resetting emotional responses. This process is intimately connected to dopamine regulation. If you do not get adequate REM sleep, your dopamine system does not recalibrate properly. This is why people who consistently get 5 to 6 hours of sleep report that they never feel truly rested, even when they have been sleeping consistently. They are missing the later REM-heavy cycles. Their dopamine system is not fully recovering. The second critical factor is consistency. Your brain thrives on patterns. Your body has a circadian rhythm, an internal clock that regulates when you should be awake and when you should be asleep. This circadian rhythm is controlled by your suprachiasmatic nucleus, a small region in your brain that responds to light and dark cycles. When you sleep at consistent times, your body learns these patterns. Your brain begins to produce melatonin at the right times. Your body temperature drops at the right times. Your sleep-wake cycle becomes synchronized. Your sleep is deep and restorative. But when you sleep at different times each night, going to bed at 10 on Monday, midnight on Tuesday, 11 on Wednesday, your circadian rhythm becomes confused. Your brain does not know when to produce melatonin. Your body does not know when to lower its temperature. Your sleep is shallow and fragmented. This is why people who work inconsistent schedules, who have jet lag, or who have irregular sleep schedules often report poor sleep quality despite getting adequate quantity. Their circadian rhythm is dysregulated. Their sleep architecture is disrupted. The third critical factor is sleep continuity. Waking up multiple times during the night, from noise, from light, from discomfort, from sleep apnea, fragments your sleep cycles. Every time you wake up, you are pulling yourself out of a sleep stage. You have to start the cycle over. You never achieve the deep, uninterrupted sleep that allows full recovery. Huberman emphasizes that this is why your sleeping environment matters so much. Noise, light, temperature, these are not luxury considerations. These directly determine whether your sleep is fragmented or continuous. A single light source in your bedroom, from a street light outside, from a digital clock, from a charger, can reduce sleep quality. A noisy neighbor can fragment your sleep and prevent you from completing full cycles. The fourth factor is the timing of activities that affect sleep. Certain things done at the wrong time of day can disrupt sleep quality dramatically. Exercise is a prime example. Exercise during the day improves sleep quality. But intense exercise within a few hours of bedtime increases your arousal, raises your body temperature, and makes it harder to fall asleep and stay asleep. Caffeine is another example. Caffeine has a half-life of 5 to 6 hours. This means that if you consume caffeine at 3 in the afternoon, 50% of it is still in your system at 8 or 9 at night. Huberman recommends that all caffeine consumption happen within 8 hours of waking, which for most people means consuming caffeine only in the morning and early afternoon. Alcohol is another critical factor. Many people think that alcohol helps them sleep because it makes them drowsy. But alcohol drastically reduces REM sleep quality. You might fall asleep more easily, but you are not getting the REM sleep your dopamine system needs. You wake up without having completed the restorative processes that alcohol suppressed. Light exposure is perhaps the most critical factor that most people misunderstand. Your circadian rhythm is controlled primarily by light. Bright light in the morning tells your brain it is time to be awake. Darkness in the evening tells your brain it is time to sleep. But modern life disrupts this. We spend our days indoors under artificial light. We spend our evenings looking at bright screens. The result is that our brains do not receive clear signals about when it is day and when it is night. Our circadian rhythms become dysregulated. Our melatonin production becomes irregular. We cannot fall asleep when we want to. Huberman's solution is specific. Get bright light exposure, ideally sunlight, in the first hour or two after waking. This tells your brain that it is morning. This sets your circadian rhythm. This signals that you should be awake and alert now. And by extension, it signals that you should be asleep later. In the evening, reduce light exposure, particularly blue light. Blue light suppresses melatonin. If you are looking at screens, phone, computer, television, in the hours before bed, you are actively suppressing melatonin production. You are telling your brain that it is still daytime. You are making it harder to fall asleep. When you implement these factors, adequate quantity of sleep, full sleep cycles including REM, consistent sleep schedules, continuous sleep without fragmentation, proper timing of caffeine and exercise, bright morning light, reduced evening light. Your sleep quality improves dramatically. Your dopamine system recovers. Your focus returns. But here is the critical point. These factors are cumulative. Getting morning light but still drinking coffee at 4 in the afternoon will not fix your sleep. Having a dark bedroom but still using your phone until midnight will not fix your sleep. The entire system has to work together. Your sleep quality improves dramatically. Your dopamine system recovers. Your focus returns. But here is the critical point. These factors are cumulative. Getting morning light but still drinking coffee at 4 in the afternoon will not fix your sleep. Having a dark bedroom but still using your phone until midnight will not fix your sleep. The entire system has to work together. Now you understand what determines sleep quality. Now you understand why poor sleep destroys your focus. The question becomes urgent. What exactly should you do? What is the specific protocol that actually works? Huberman has identified a set of interventions based on neuroscience research. These are not theoretical recommendations. These are based on measured outcomes in sleep studies. When implemented consistently, they dramatically improve sleep quality and allow dopamine system recovery. The first intervention is morning light exposure. Within the first hour or two of waking, expose yourself to bright light. This should ideally be sunlight. Go outside. Sit by a window. Let natural sunlight hit your eyes. This is not about your skin. Light needs to reach your eyes to affect your circadian rhythm. The light enters your eyes and travels to your suprachiasmatic nucleus, the part of your brain that controls your circadian rhythm. This single intervention, morning light exposure, sets the tone for your entire day. It tells your brain that you are awake. It tells your body to be alert. It signals your circadian rhythm. And by setting your circadian rhythm in the morning, you are actually determining when you will feel sleepy in the evening. You are programming yourself to sleep well. Huberman recommends between 30 minutes to 2 hours of outdoor light exposure, depending on how bright it is. If it is very bright and sunny, 30 minutes is adequate. If it is cloudy or if you are getting light through a window, you might need up to 2 hours. The goal is to get significant light exposure to your eyes in the morning. The second intervention is caffeine management. Caffeine blocks adenosine receptors. Adenosine is a molecule that builds up during the day and signals sleepiness. When caffeine blocks these receptors, you do not feel sleepy. But caffeine has a half-life of 5 to 6 hours. This means you need to consume all your caffeine early in the day. Huberman recommends consuming caffeine only within the first 8 hours after waking. For someone who wakes at 7 in the morning, this means all caffeine consumption should be completed by 3 in the afternoon. After that, no caffeine. This gives your brain time to clear the caffeine and allow adenosine to accumulate, signaling sleepiness by bedtime. This single change, moving all caffeine consumption to the morning, can dramatically improve sleep for many people. You will feel less alert in the afternoon, but this is actually good. This is your brain beginning to accumulate the sleepiness signal that you need for good sleep. The third intervention is light management in the evening. In the hours before bed, reduce your exposure to bright light, particularly blue light. This means reducing or eliminating screen time in the hour or two before bed. If you must use screens, use a blue light filter. Dim your lights. Create an environment that tells your brain it is evening. Darkness signals your brain to produce melatonin. Melatonin production peaks in darkness. When you are in a dark environment in the evening, your brain produces melatonin, and you begin to feel sleepy naturally. When you are in bright light or blue light, melatonin production is suppressed, and you cannot fall asleep easily. The fourth intervention is room temperature. Your body temperature needs to drop to fall asleep and stay asleep. Huberman recommends a room temperature between 15 and 19 degrees Celsius, or approximately 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit. This is cooler than most people keep their bedrooms. A cool room allows your body temperature to drop. Your metabolism slows. Your sleep deepens. Many people who struggle with sleep find that simply cooling their bedroom makes a dramatic difference. You can use air conditioning, open windows, or even a cooling mattress pad. The goal is to create a cool environment. The fifth intervention is exercise timing. Exercise during the day improves sleep quality. Exercise increases your core body temperature. When you exercise, your body adapts by improving temperature regulation. This adaptation improves sleep. But exercise needs to happen during the day or early afternoon, not close to bedtime. Intense exercise within 3 to 4 hours of bedtime raises your core body temperature and increases your arousal. You become more alert, not less. You cannot fall asleep easily. Huberman recommends exercise earlier in the day. If you exercise in the morning or afternoon, you get all the sleep benefits without the sleep disruption. The sixth intervention is eliminating alcohol, or at least minimizing it and never consuming it close to bedtime. Alcohol makes people feel drowsy, which is why many people use it as a sleep aid. But this is deceptive. Alcohol dramatically reduces REM sleep quality. It fragments sleep. You might sleep 8 hours, but that sleep is not restorative because REM sleep has been suppressed. If you drink alcohol, do not drink it in the evening before bed. The further away from bedtime, the less disruptive the alcohol will be. But ideally, eliminate evening alcohol entirely if sleep quality is a priority for you. The seventh intervention is consistency. Go to bed at the same time every night. Wake up at the same time every morning. Even on weekends. Your body learns these patterns. Your circadian rhythm synchronizes. Your sleep becomes deeper and more restorative. This is difficult for many people. On weekends, you want to sleep in. But inconsistent sleep schedules disrupt your circadian rhythm. Your sleep quality suffers. If you want truly good sleep, consistency is essential. Set a bedtime. Stick to it. Your body will adapt, and your sleep will improve. The eighth intervention is sleep continuity. Make your bedroom a sanctuary for sleep. Eliminate noise. Use earplugs if necessary. Eliminate light. Use blackout curtains if necessary. Make your bed comfortable. The goal is to create an environment in which you can sleep continuously without waking. Every time you wake up, you disrupt your sleep cycles. You pull yourself out of a sleep stage. You have to start over. Multiple awakenings fragment your sleep and prevent full recovery. Creating an environment that minimizes awakenings is crucial. Now here is the critical point. These interventions do not all need to be implemented simultaneously. You do not need to change everything overnight. But Huberman recommends prioritizing them in order. Start with morning light exposure. This is the most powerful intervention and affects everything else. Implement this for a week. Then add caffeine management. Eliminate caffeine after mid-afternoon. Implement this for another week. Then add evening light management. Stop using screens an hour before bed. Implement this for another week. Then add temperature control. Cool your bedroom. Implement this for another week. Then add exercise timing. Move exercise to earlier in the day if you have been exercising late. Then add alcohol elimination. Stop drinking alcohol in the evening. Then add consistency. Set a bedtime and stick to it. By the time you have implemented all of these, typically within 4 to 6 weeks, your sleep quality has usually improved dramatically. Your dopamine system has begun to recover. Your focus has begun to return. The timeline is important. You cannot expect perfect sleep immediately. Your brain has likely been dysregulated for months or years. It takes time to recalibrate. But if you are consistent with these interventions, the improvement is usually noticeable within 2 to 3 weeks. Within 6 weeks, for most people, sleep quality has transformed. And as sleep quality improves, dopamine recovers. As dopamine recovers, focus returns. You do not need more discipline. You do not need more willpower. Your brain naturally produces the focused attention that you have been seeking. There is a moment that comes for most people when they have implemented these sleep protocols consistently. It usually happens around 3 to 4 weeks in. You wake up one morning and something is different. You do not feel groggy. Your mind is clear. You feel ready. And you realize, this is what focus actually feels like. Most people have not experienced truly good sleep in years. They have forgotten what it feels like to wake up actually rested. They have forgotten what it feels like to have mental clarity in the morning. They have forgotten what it feels like to sit down to work and have focus come naturally instead of requiring constant struggle. This moment of clarity is not accidental. It is the result of your dopamine system recalibrating. It is the result of your brain moving through full sleep cycles night after night. It is the result of your circadian rhythm synchronizing. It is the result of your body and brain finally getting what they have needed all along. But here is what happens next, and this is where most people fail. They experience this improvement in sleep and focus, and they think they can go back to their old habits. They think that because they feel good now, they can skip the morning light one day. They can have coffee at 4 in the afternoon once in a while. They can stay up late scrolling their phone just this once. They can sleep in on the weekend just this once. Each compromise seems small. Each exception seems insignificant. But here is what neuroscience shows. Your brain is sensitive to disruptions. Missing one morning of light exposure does not destroy your circadian rhythm immediately, but it begins to dysregulate it. Drinking coffee at 4 in the afternoon does not destroy your sleep immediately, but it disrupts it. Staying up late scrolling does not ruin your sleep architecture immediately, but it fragments it. And after enough small compromises, you find yourself back where you started. Your sleep is bad again. Your dopamine is depleted again. Your focus is gone again. And you do not understand why, because you did not make one big change. You just made a series of small exceptions. This is why Huberman emphasizes that sleep optimization is not a destination. It is not something you achieve and then maintain passively. Sleep optimization is a practice. It is something you maintain through consistent choice and consistent implementation of the protocols. The good news is that once your body has experienced truly good sleep, maintaining it becomes easier. Your body remembers. Your circadian rhythm has been trained. Your sleep architecture has been rebuilt. Maintaining these improvements requires less effort than building them initially. But maintaining them still requires conscious choice. You still have to prioritize morning light. You still have to manage caffeine. You still have to keep your room cool and dark. This is where the second phase of sleep optimization begins. Not implementation, but maintenance. Not building new habits, but protecting the habits you have built. This requires understanding why you are doing these things. It requires understanding that every time you implement these protocols, you are protecting your dopamine system. You are protecting your focus. You are protecting your capacity for meaningful work. Huberman points out that this is why people with strong discipline around sleep often have strong discipline in other areas of their lives. It is not because they have more willpower. It is because they have built a foundation. They have optimized their dopamine system through sleep. And with that foundation in place, discipline in other areas becomes easier. Focus becomes easier. Meaning becomes easier to achieve. The neurological changes that happen as your sleep improves are profound. Your prefrontal cortex becomes more active and more effective. This is the part of your brain responsible for executive function, for impulse control, for decision-making. With better sleep, your prefrontal cortex works better. You make better decisions. You have better impulse control. You can resist distraction more easily. Your default mode network, the part of your brain active during rest and mind wandering, becomes better regulated. This means you mind wanders less during focused work. Your attention stays where you direct it. Your focus deepens. Your emotional regulation improves. Sleep deprivation dysregulates your amygdala, the emotional center of your brain. When you sleep poorly, everything feels more emotionally intense. Small setbacks feel like catastrophes. Minor frustrations feel unbearable. Your emotional responses are exaggerated and difficult to control. When you sleep well, your amygdala is regulated. Emotional challenges become manageable. You respond to difficulty with resilience instead of reactivity. Your learning capacity improves. During sleep, your brain consolidates memories. Information that you learned during the day is integrated into long-term memory during sleep. If you sleep poorly, this consolidation does not happen effectively. You learn less. You forget more. When you sleep well, learning is dramatically improved. New information is integrated effectively. Skills develop faster. Your creativity improves. Your brain makes novel connections during sleep, particularly during REM sleep. When you sleep well, your brain is making these creative connections night after night. You solve problems that seemed unsolvable. You generate ideas that seemed impossible. Creativity is not random. Creativity emerges from good sleep. Your immune function improves. Sleep is when your body fights infections, builds immune cells, and strengthens immunity. When you sleep poorly, your immune system is compromised. When you sleep well, your immune system is strong. You get sick less. You recover faster from illness. Your metabolic function improves. Sleep deprivation dysregulates hunger hormones and metabolic regulation. You eat more when you sleep poorly. You gain weight more easily. Your metabolism becomes inefficient. When you sleep well, your metabolism functions normally. Your hunger signals are accurate. Your weight stabilizes. All of these improvements come from one place: better sleep. Not from supplements. Not from biohacking. Not from complex interventions. Just from creating the conditions in which your brain and body can sleep well. This is why Huberman emphasizes sleep as the foundation. Everything else, your focus, your discipline, your productivity, your health, your well-being, is built on top of sleep quality. If you do not sleep well, nothing else works well. If you do sleep well, everything else becomes easier. The tragedy is that most people understand this intellectually but do not implement it. They know they should sleep better. They know sleep is important, but they do not prioritize it. They stay up late working or scrolling. They keep their bedrooms bright and warm. They drink caffeine late in the day. They exercise close to bedtime. They maintain irregular sleep schedules. And then they wonder why they cannot focus. They wonder why their discipline fails. They wonder why they feel exhausted all the time. They do not connect their poor sleep to their poor focus. They do not understand that their dopamine system is starving. They try to compensate with more willpower, more motivation, more forcing. And it does not work. The solution is to stop fighting your own neurobiology. The solution is to understand what your brain actually needs. The solution is to create the conditions in which your brain can function as it was designed to function. And the first condition is good sleep. When you sleep well, everything changes. Not immediately. Not overnight. But over weeks and months, as your dopamine system recalibrates, as your focus returns, as your capacity for meaningful work emerges, you will understand something fundamental. You were never broken. You were never lacking in discipline or motivation. You were simply operating with a dysregulated dopamine system caused by poor sleep. And once you fixed the sleep, everything else fixed itself. You are now at a crossroads. You understand the science. You understand how sleep quality determines your focus. You understand the specific protocols that improve sleep. You understand the timeline for recovery. You understand what your brain and body actually need. But understanding is not enough. Understanding is just information. And information without implementation changes nothing. The question is not whether you understand the relationship between sleep and focus. The question is whether you are willing to live differently based on this understanding. Are you willing to prioritize sleep over late-night work? Are you willing to set a bedtime and stick to it? Are you willing to go outside in the morning even when you are tired? Are you willing to eliminate caffeine after mid-afternoon? Are you willing to stop using your phone before bed? Are you willing to cool your bedroom and keep it dark? Are you willing to do these things consistently, night after night, week after week? This is where most people fail. Not because the science is wrong. Not because the protocols do not work. Because they are not willing to endure the temporary discomfort of change. Because they are not willing to sacrifice the short-term pleasure of late-night scrolling or evening caffeine for the long-term benefit of better sleep and better focus. But here is what the research shows. If you can maintain these protocols consistently for just 6 weeks, your sleep quality will have transformed. Your dopamine will have recovered. Your focus will have returned. And you will experience something remarkable. You will feel what it is actually like to have good focus. You will remember what mental clarity feels like. And at that point, you will not want to go back. The initial implementation is the hardest part. The first 2 weeks will feel like you are fighting yourself. You will want to stay up late. You will want to check your phone before bed. You will want to sleep in on the weekend. You will want to have coffee in the afternoon. Every evening will feel like a choice between your immediate comfort and your future focus. But by the 3rd week, something shifts. Your body begins to adapt. Your circadian rhythm begins to synchronize. You start to naturally feel sleepy at your bedtime. You start to naturally feel alert in the morning after morning light. Your sleep begins to deepen. Your dopamine begins to recover. Your focus begins to return. By the 4th and 5th weeks, the improvements are undeniable. You wake up feeling rested. Your mind is clear. Tasks that seemed impossible feel manageable. Work that felt like torture now feels engaging. You have focus. Real focus. Not forced through willpower, but emerging naturally from a recovered dopamine system. By the 6th week, you will look back and barely recognize your former self. The person who could not focus for more than 15 minutes. The person who felt exhausted all the time. The person who could not resist checking their phone constantly. That person is gone. You have been rebuilt. Your brain has been recalibrated. Your dopamine system has recovered. And here is the insight that changes everything. You realize that you were never weak. You were never lacking in discipline. You were never broken. You were simply operating with a devastated dopamine system caused by poor sleep. Everything that felt like a personal failure was actually a neurobiological consequence of sleep deprivation. And once you fixed the sleep, the failures disappeared. This realization is powerful, because it means you can stop blaming yourself. You can stop trying to force discipline through willpower. You can stop trying harder and instead work smarter. You can stop fighting your own neurobiology and start working with it. The second insight is equally important. Focus is not scarce. Focus is not something that some people have and others lack. Focus emerges naturally when your dopamine system is functioning properly. When your sleep is good, when your dopamine is at healthy levels, focus becomes effortless. You do not have to force it. It is just there. This means that if you are struggling with focus, the solution is not motivation training or discipline coaching or productivity systems. The solution is sleep. Fix your sleep, and everything else follows. It is that simple. It is that elegant. It is that powerful. Huberman's research points to a future in which people understand their sleep-dopamine-focus connection and manage it intentionally. A future in which people stop blaming themselves for poor focus and start examining their sleep. A future in which sleep is not a luxury or an indulgence but is recognized as the foundation of everything else. But this future is not something that happens to you. This future is something you build. Through consistent choices. Through willingness to prioritize sleep even when it feels inconvenient. Through commitment to protocols that take weeks to show results. Through understanding that your brain and body have actual needs, and these needs must be met for you to function as you are capable of functioning. The question now is simple. Will you implement this? Will you start with morning light exposure? Will you manage your caffeine? Will you reduce evening light? Will you cool your bedroom? Will you time your exercise correctly? Will you eliminate evening alcohol? Will you set a consistent sleep schedule? Will you do these things consistently for 6 weeks? These are not rhetorical questions. These are the decisions that separate people who understand the sleep-dopamine-focus connection from people who actually benefit from it. Understanding is the first step. Implementation is everything. Start tomorrow if you can. Or start today if it is evening. Set a bedtime. Plan to be outside for morning light tomorrow. Eliminate caffeine after mid-afternoon starting tomorrow. Remove screens from your bedroom. Cool your room. Set your alarm for a consistent wake time. Start with one protocol if you need to. You do not need to implement everything simultaneously. Start with morning light. Commit to 30 minutes of outdoor light exposure within the first hour of waking. Do this every single day for 1 week. Notice what happens. Then add the next protocol. Then the next. Build gradually, but build consistently. After 6 weeks of consistent implementation, you will have transformed your sleep, your dopamine, and your focus. And then you will understand something that very few people understand. That focus is not about willpower or motivation or discipline. Focus is about biology. Focus is about creating the neurobiological conditions in which your brain can do what it was designed to do. Focus emerges when your dopamine system is healthy. And your dopamine system is healthy when you sleep well. Sleep is the foundation. Everything else is built on top of sleep. Your focus, your discipline, your productivity, your health, your well-being, your happiness, all of it depends on sleep. So the question returns to you, with greater weight now. Not as information, but as invitation. Will you understand the sleep dopamine focus connection? And will you live differently because of it? Will you prioritize sleep? Will you implement the protocols? Will you commit to the process? Will you allow your brain to recover? Will you give yourself permission to sleep well and to focus deeply and to accomplish meaningful work? This is where your journey begins. Not with motivation, not with willpower, but with sleep. With the simple commitment to create the conditions in which your brain can function as it was designed to function. And once you do, once you experience what true focus actually feels like, you will wonder how you ever lived any other way. This is the power of understanding. This is the power of neuroscience. This is the power of sleep.